Good morning, grade 9 students. This is Miss Nadine. Today is Monday, March 16, 2020. I'm going to explain a new section in Chapter 3, Section 3.6, Compound Inequalities. A compound inequality contains at least two inequalities that are separated by either and or. Write a compound inequality that describes all real numbers less than -2 or greater than 5. So we write x less than -2 or x greater than 5. The graph of a compound inequality with the word or contains each graph of the two inequalities that form the compound inequality. So we graph x less than -2. We use an open circle at -2, then we draw an arrow going to the left to represent all real numbers that are less than -2. Then we use an open circle at 5, and we draw an arrow going to the right to represent all real numbers that are greater than 5. Writing and graphing inequalities involving and. Write a compound inequality that describes all the real numbers greater than -2 and less than 5. This means x is between -2 and 5 in between statements. The graph of a compound inequality with the word and contains the overlap of the graphs of the two inequalities that form the compound inequality, x between -2 and 5, so we draw an arrow going from -2 to 5. The graph should have open circles because the inequality symbols are not inclusive. Solving a compound inequality involving and. When solving for variables in the and case, you isolate the variable in between the inequality symbols. Important: inverse operations apply to the whole thing. You can solve an inequality like 3x minus 8 between -2 and 10 by working on all three parts of the inequality at the same time. You will work to isolate the variable between the inequality symbol. 3x minus 8 between -2 and 10. First step, we add 8, then we divide by 3. X is between 2 and 6. Solving a compound inequality involving or. A solution of a compound inequality involving or is any number that makes either the inequality true. To solve a compound inequality involving or, you must solve separately the two inequalities that form the compound inequality. So we solve y minus 3 greater than 5, y is greater than 8, or y plus 3 less than -2, y is less than -5. The two solutions are y greater than 8 or y less than -5. Now we must graph both solutions on one number line. Y less than -5, we use an open circle at -5, then we draw an arrow going to the left to represent all real numbers that are less than -5, and y greater than 8, we use an open circle at 8, and we draw an arrow going to the right to represent all real numbers that are greater than 8. Interval notation. An interval is a portion of a number line. Interval notation includes the use of three special symbols. Brackets, we use the closed bound when a is greater than or equal or a is less than or equal a number. It indicates that the interval's endpoint are included. We use parentheses or open bound when a is less than a number or a is greater than a number. It indicates that the interval's endpoint are not included. We use infinity when the interval continues forever in the positive direction, and minus infinity when the interval continues forever in the negative direction. Let's do a couple of examples. First example, x greater than 4. Write each inequality in interval notation. First step, we graph the solution. We use an open circle at 4, then we draw an arrow going to the right to represent all real numbers that are greater than 4. To write the interval notation, we write 4 to plus infinity. We use parentheses or open bound at 4 and plus infinity. We use plus infinity since the interval continues forever in a positive direction. The second example, x between -2 and 5 inclusive. We graph the solution. We draw an arrow going from -2 to 5. We use closed circle at -2 and 5 since we have less than or equal. To write the interval notation, we write -2, 5. We use a closed bound at -2 and a closed bound at 5 since we have less than or equal. The third example, x between -2 and 5. We grab the solution. We use an open circle at -2 and a closed circle at 5. To write the interval notation, we use parentheses at -2 or an open bound at -2 and a closed bound at 5. Now, to write the interval notation of a compound inequality involving OR, notice that the graph, we grab the solution, notice that the graph has two intervals. We write -infinity to 1 or 4 to +infinity. We use the parentheses or open bound at -infinity and +infinity. We use a closed bound at 1 since we have x less than or equal 1, and a parenthesis or open bound at 4 since we have x greater than 4. In this table, we have all cases of inequalities and interval notation. As an assignment for the next time, please do number 9 to 22, page 204. Thank you.